Chaos at the Columbia Mall, 3 people dead.
People started running and they said somebody's down there and he's got a gun. And I heard at least 8 to 10 gunshots.
Tonight, what witnesses saw, the victims, and what police are saying about the gunman.
Good evening, I'm Jessica Cartalia.
And I'm Mary Bubala.
And I'm Vic Carter, live at the mall in Columbia, where right now the search continues throughout the mall with police gathering information on that horrible shooting that occurred this morning. Shortly after 11 o'clock this morning, 3 people left dead. And of course, as you see from the video from Sky Chopper 13 earlier, people evacuated from the mall, people injured. WJZ Eyewitness News has live team coverage. We have a number of reporters who have been here throughout the day and have been bringing you every single detail possible on this story. We begin right now with my colleague Mike Helgren, who has been here throughout the day. Mike?
And Vic, the chief said this is something that was not supposed to happen here. The reality is it did. At this point, they have not named the shooter publicly, but they tell us they have tentatively identified him. And we just learned new information that he had a bag with him inside the mall, that they say there were crude devices, possibly explosive devices that he was trying to make with fireworks. However, at this hour, why he did this remains a mystery.
Oh my. Oh.
Terrified parents rushed to their children after a lone gunman walked into the busy mall in Columbia, strapped with large amounts of ammunition, pulled out a shotgun, and opened fire. He killed 21-year-old Brianna Benlolo and 25-year-old Tyler Johnson, who both worked at the Zoomies store here.
We heard about 10 shots. They were pretty loud. We grabbed all of our customers, the children, and took them out back and locked the door.
I thought I heard something fall. It sounded like bricks. All of a sudden, I saw people fall, 3 people that were shot fall. So everybody ducked to the ground. I heard more than 10 shots.
Police do not know the motive and cautioned against speculation amid reports this was a domestic dispute.
Our focus for the last several hours since the shooting has been the treatment of those that were injured, making sure that all those people that are huddled inside the mall, being sheltered, got out safely. We're now going through the investigative process, finding out answers to all those questions you're asking. So again, I'm sensitive to, I appreciate your desire to know it. I have those questions as well.
Police have maintained a visible presence at the mall, and they will continue to do so throughout the weekend. Zoomies is on the 2nd floor near the food court. It took 5 hours for police to inspect every square foot and clear everyone. The image was chilling as many came out with their hands up. There were thousands inside the mall on this busy Saturday.
This took a long time because if you imagine how many rooms there are in the mall, how many back offices and restrooms and dressing rooms and nooks and crannies in the mall.
Several pastors held a vigil in the parking lot, trying to make some sense of this senseless tragedy.
I don't think you can, honestly. We live in an evil world, but it's our faith, you know. It's not what we understand that gets us through, it's our faith that gets us through.
It's a day that changed lives forever, and one that few here will ever forget. And 5 others were injured, including one person who was shot in the foot. Police are interviewing that person. That shooting, that person was standing on the lower level below the Zoomies store. And again, what has made it so difficult is the explosive devices that they believed were on this shooter's person. So they have not released his name, but Vic, they say they've tentatively identified him at this hour.
Absolutely, and they've been using canine units throughout the evening, going through the mall, inch by inch, to make sure there are no other explosive devices around. We've seen a number of those dogs out here just a few minutes ago. Of course, one of the most compelling interviews that we heard throughout the entire day came from a young man who was here at the mall, and Rochelle Ritchie is live at Shock Trauma with his story. Rochelle?
Well, hi, Vic. As you mentioned, 2 very compelling stories that we have done. Interviews with one of the men that was inside of the store at the time this gunman opened fire. The other interview with a woman who dodged one of the gunman's bullets.
And an exclusive sit-down interview, 27-year-old Chris tells WJZ how he came face-to-face with a madman armed with a shotgun, ready to kill.
I was in the store no more than 5 to 7 minutes.
Chris doesn't want his face to be shown and says he believes the shooter was already in the store before the shooting.
He didn't come in through the front door or the front entrance. It was, either through like the back storeroom entrance, or he just emerged out of the one of the dressing rooms on the right-hand side.
What happened next, he'll never forget.
Tell me what happened after you saw him pull the gun out and aim it at the female employee.
He shot her. And then, 10, 15, maybe not even 10 seconds later, I heard the second gunshot. I basically just like scrambled out of the store on my hands and knees, right by the male employee who was down on the ground, still alive.
After making it out of the store, Chris jumps to his feet and takes off running.
I yelled, "Shooter, call the police," and I just kept yelling that, and people just started running.
His screams are heard by Chiffon Robinson, who came face to face with the gunman. The barrel of the gun, she says, was pointed directly at her head.
When he looked at me, he cocked back and shot. I ducked. My husband said duck, and he shot right over me at the Great Cookie. I know he had the shotgun was like on a belt on his arm.
Chiffon's husband, 41-year-old Terrence Lilly, sees their 2 children on the 2nd floor near the gunman. He runs to save them and suffers a serious injury.
His face got injured because he hit the beam as he was running upstairs. He fractured 3 bones in his jaw. So that's why he has to get surgery.
Chiffon remains baffled by the event.
Every time I close my eyes, I see it.
2 people, both traumatized, and 1 living with the victim's last words.
He asked me if it was like still bad outside, and I told him, it really wasn't snowing yet, but it's going to be cold all week. And he told me, yeah, he's from Mount Airy.
And Chiffon's husband is undergoing surgery right now here at Shock Trauma. We're live tonight. I'm Rochelle Ritchie, WJZ Eyewitness News.
Okay, Rochelle, thank you very much. What a compelling interview, an incredible young man, and thank you for the story. We are joined now by Ken Ullman, County Executive. This has been an incredible day for you and for the police force.
A terribly sad day, a terribly tragic day. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the loved ones and family members of the victims, but frankly also a day where I saw a lot of bravery from our men and women in law enforcement who, although they're trained to do this, to see them actually do it in an active shooter situation, just rush right in there, was really a testament to them, and frankly the love and compassion that I saw from so many citizens grabbing children and hugging people and rushing them out and locking them in back doors and huddling together. And so a tough day.
What happens now? Will this mall ever be back to normal?
Absolutely. We're a tough crowd in Howard County. We're a community who is resilient. We're going to come back together. We're going to be shopping at this mall as soon as it opens. I'm going to be eating at the food court. And but look, we still have a lot of investigative work to do. We've tentatively identified the shooter. We still have a lot of work to do to put together the motive. Why did this happen? We'll do a briefing tomorrow morning. We hope to be able to talk more about that in the morning. But absolutely, we're going to be back. Today just showed that we're not immune to this senseless violence that takes place in our country.
Is it likely that at your briefing tomorrow morning, I think you said you're going to try to have it around 9:30.
Yeah.
By then, do you think you will know when the mall will reopen and be able to close the loophole on why this happened?
We hope to be able to share more about the identity and maybe a little bit more about motive. There's still a lot of investigative work. The mall has announced they'll be closed tomorrow. There's some damage to storefronts and things as the police were getting into areas, and so hopefully Monday, but it may be Tuesday. And the mall has been incredibly cooperative.
Okay, thank you very much,
Ken
Ullman.
Thanks, Vic.
We appreciate it. That was Ken Ullman telling us that they'll have a briefing tomorrow morning, hopefully be able to answer more questions and provide more answers than they've been able to provide today. Of course, part of the emergency response here at the mall right after the shooting occurred was preparing to receive the injured should hospitals actually have to go on alert, and of course they did that. One of them not very far from here, Howard County General Hospital. Pat Warren has been there and has talked with administrators about how they responded to the shooting. Pat?
Yes, we did talk to the administrators about how they responded to the shooting. As soon as they got word, their emergency procedures went into effect. And then later today, we were able to track down the residents of Tyler Johnson's family in Mount Airy. 21-year-old Brianna Benlolo of College Park and 25-year-old Tyler Johnson of Ellicott City were the victims in this shooting. Tyler Johnson's parents were frantically trying to reach him when they heard about the shooting, according to an uncle. The odds keep narrowing, he said. They couldn't get anybody to tell them anything. It was horrible for them. The family home in Mount Airy is quiet, his parents grieving, declining to be interviewed at this time. Neighbor Greg Todd says he had no idea Tyler was one of the victims.
He would stop and say hello to the boys, and that was it. Yeah, that's really sad. I had no idea.
Brianna Benlolo was the mother of a 2-year-old. Her housemate Corey Lewis says she was an assistant manager at the store. She was always kind and joyful. She never seemed like she had any negativity. This comes as a shock to everyone. Johnson's uncle says it's very hard on the family, of course. He just seemed like an ordinary kid who was at the wrong place at the wrong time. Greg Todd would agree.
Seriously, I had no idea. So it was very sad. Yeah, and very nice, very cool family. They only moved in a couple years ago, so. But very nice family, and yeah, so that's kind of shocking. We'll have to stop by there tomorrow to say hello, but that's very sad. I had no idea.
And of course, the question that remains on everyone's minds, especially the families and friends of the victims, is why they were targeted. I'm Pat Warren reporting. Now back to you, Vic.
Okay, Pat, thank you very much. And of course, the response by Howard County Hospital. Also, shock trauma was put on alert as well as a result of this shooting today. This also has gained a lot of response from state officials. And Lynn Bowie has some information from the governor's office. She's live in our newsroom. Lynn.
That's right, Vic. The governor released a statement about the shooting earlier today. In it, it reads, "On behalf of the people of Maryland, I want to express my deepest condolences to the families of the victims and all those affected by this senseless act of violence. Protecting the public safety is our most solemn obligation." The governor goes on to thank first responders and law enforcement for their quick work. Several law enforcement agencies were on the scene today. Officials actually arrived at the mall just 2 minutes after the shooting. Earlier tonight, I spoke to security expert Rob Weinhold with the Falston Group, and he got some insights into how police handled this emergency. Huge response, SWAT team, tactical weapons. Is this typical for a call about a shooting at a mall?
Well, it is typical. There's a lot of moving parts. Officers who are responding, you have to remember their adrenaline is pumped up, so to speak. They're running in while everyone else is running out and trying to escape. They're trying to identify the crime scene, the shooter. They want to make sure that everything is mitigated, the crime scene is preserved, and it does warrant a major response.
It is a sad reality. We were saying that this can happen anywhere, anytime. Say you're someone in a public space, you hear gunshots, what do you do?
Well, it is unfortunately a fact of life, small town USA to large urban environments. And what the Department of Homeland Security recommends is that folks really adopt a run, hide, fight model. And that is, if you hear gunshots or you find yourself in an active shooter situation, do the very best you can to escape and get out of harm's way. If you're unable to do that, hide under a desk, in a closet, wherever it might be, to again preserve your own life. And if unfortunately you find yourself in a life-threatening situation, you do anything you possibly can to preserve your life and the life of those around you.
Investigators are now interviewing witnesses. Weinhold says they have the difficult task of identifying credible witnesses who actually saw something from shoppers who were just relying on hearsay. Vic, back to you.
Okay, Lynn, thank you very much. Good information from you and from Rob Weinhold, information that we hope we will never have to use, and certainly not anytime soon. That's our coverage from here right now. There's much more to tell you about. We're going to throw it right now back into the studio. Back to you, Mary.
All right, Vic, thank you so much. And WJZ has the latest now on the shooting at the mall in Columbia. 3 people are dead, including the unidentified gunman. The victims have been identified as 21-year-old Brianna Benlolo of College Park and 25-year-old Tyler Johnson of Mount Airy. 5 people are injured. They have been treated and released from Howard County General Hospital. A motive is unknown. The mall will be closed tomorrow.
Some very frightened customers here who were in the mall, just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, saw the shooting, heard the shooting, and of course proceeded to evacuate. Mike Helgren has been here throughout the day and has more from other witnesses.
Well, and Vic, we're still early in this. It's been 11:15 was the first 911 call, so just about 12 hours into this investigation. I want to run down what we know about the shooter at this point. This is a person who had a lot of ammunition with him. He also had several crude explosive devices that he brought with him into the mall. Police have tentatively identified him, not released any name. They would not say that this was linked to a domestic dispute, but they did not rule that out either. Now, Maryland State Police have been here on the scene and a number of police agencies. However, Howard County Police have continued to lead this investigation, and earlier today we heard from Chief Bill McMahon on how this all unfolded.
The shooting took place on the upper level above where the food court is, in and outside a store called Zoomies. It's been described to me as kind of a skateboard shop. Multiple calls there. As the executive mentioned, we were able to get officers on scene within 2 minutes. Based on our past training and experiences, those officers got into the mall very quickly. They were able to locate 3 people deceased from gunshot wounds. I want to clear up something because it's been circulating in some of the media that this has been reported by some as a domestic related incident. We have no knowledge of that yet, and I'll get back to you in a second where we are in our investigation. It's been attributed to some sources. I'm not sure where that information is coming from. The Howard County Police Department has certainly been supported by a number of agencies in responding to this, but the Howard County Police Department is investigating the shooting incident, and we do not know yet what caused the shooting incident.
Now, there are still police here on the scene, and at this point, some people cannot yet get their personal belongings that they left inside the mall. This is a puzzle, and there are a number of pieces to it. Again, it is early. Police are trying to piece together all of this, and more of the puzzle pieces will come to light tomorrow, hopefully during that briefing that you were talking to the county executive about.
Exactly. That briefing is scheduled to take place around 9:30 in the morning. One thing we do know is that those persons who left their vehicles here, who just got out and left, they're told that they can come back and pick up their cars here with no problem at all. They can do that tonight if they like. You can only imagine the emotional impact that this is having on people, not only those who were here at the mall, but those people who watched what happened on television, those people who had friends and relatives inside. Let's go back to Lynn Bowie live in our newsroom with more from a psychologist about how this affects people and what can be done. Lynn?
That's exactly right, Vic. Tragedies like this have a massive emotional impact. We have heard chilling details all day from shoppers who were inside the mall during that shooting. Earlier tonight, I spoke with Dr. Elias Shaya, a psychologist, about this traumatic event. We talked to many shoppers, doctor, who said they won't go back to the mall. A lot of people scared to go to the mall. What is your response to this? What can we do to move forward?
None of the rules that we used to keep us safe apply in this case, so the unpredictability, the randomness makes us much more anxious and worried.
Schools are supposed to be safe, they're no longer. Malls supposed to be safe, no longer. For a whole generation of children growing up, there is no safe place for them, anywhere.
No safe place, absolutely. And the good thing in this is that somehow we are resilient, somehow we forget, somehow we adjust and move on.
Obviously, the mall, a very popular place to hang out, especially for families. How does a parent explain to their child what happened today, especially a young child?
That's a great question, and it is important to really distinguish by the child's age. So a younger child who may be more clingy, maybe really next to the parent, is going to feel anxious if the parent wants to leave the house. Those have to be told basically that they're going to be protected. They're going to be with us. We're going to be with them. We're going to spend more time, maybe not leave the house as often as we did before for a few days, until the younger child feels a little bit more secure.
For those who witnessed the tragedy, Dr. Shaya says it is normal to need a few days to recover, but those still struggling after a week or more might need professional help. And today's shooting has gotten plenty of national attention. Singer Katy Perry took to Twitter actually saying, quote, "You and I both know this is getting embarrassing. My heart goes out to all the victims and their families this week. I pray for change." And of course, several lawmakers speaking out, as well as the CEO of Zoomies, that store where that shooting happened. Jess, back to you.
All right, Lynn, thank you. And please stay with WJZ for complete coverage on the shooting at the mall in Columbia. For updates anytime, log on to cbsbaltimore.com and check in with Tim Williams, Don Scott, and Gigi Barnett tomorrow morning on Eyewitness News starting at 7 a.m. for the updated first warning weather forecast.
All right.
I'm Vic Carter live at the mall in Columbia as our coverage for this evening comes to a close. I want to recap what has happened here today. A horrible shooting that occurred shortly after 11 this morning. 3 people left dead, including the shooter. All 3 victims have been identified. The shooter has not yet been identified publicly, but police do know who he is. Explosive devices were found here today. The shooter was armed with a shotgun and multiple shells. Of course, that caused people to go running for their lives and seeking shelter. We, of course, will have more on this story throughout the weekend. We invite you to stay with us here at Eyewitness News. For now, back to you on Television Hill.
Vic, and our coverage continues tomorrow with Don, Gigi, and Tim. Good night, everybody.